Hi, welcome to Interview with Miss Panda. I am Amanda Schonblaget. My guest today is Eugenia Chu. Eugenia Chu is the author of a newly released children's picture book, Brandon Makes Jia. And I'm very happy to have Eugenia on the show today and share her book, Brandon Makes Jia, with us. 你好, Eugenia. 欢迎, welcome.
Ni hao. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Super. Eugenia, this is your first book, and it's such an adorable story about the family, and it's making jiaozi, dumplings, Chinese dumplings. So I see you sitting in the kitchen, and we would like to know, you are an attorney turned stay-at-home mom and turned writer. And Brandon is your boy's name, actually, and he is in the book. So we would like to know the inspiration for your book.
Well, yeah, Brandon is my son. And when he was very young, I had trouble finding books. I was always looking for storybooks that had some Chinese in them and some Chinese culture. But I had a hard time finding them. The only books I could find that had Chinese in them were ABC 1, 2, 3 type instructional books, which I bought, but it wasn't what I was looking for. And the other kind of books I saw were straight translations, where there was English on one side and Chinese on the other. And again, not what I was looking for. So I just started writing little stories on my own with some Chinese in it about Brandon and what he did during the day. And well, for example, whenever my mother comes to visit, Brandon and my mom, they always make jiaozi, Chinese dumplings.
I love
it. Yeah, something he always looked forward to, and it's become a tradition. And that was the inspiration and the basis for the book.
Yes. That's really sweet. And does grandma come and visit Brandon? I believe that's always a wonderful experience for Brandon. And does he try to use as much Chinese as possible to talk to grandma?
Well, he'll use a few words like thank you, 谢谢, and things like that. But he knows my mom can speak English, and so he always falls back into it. Even though my mom will say, hey, 讲中文, practice your Chinese, speak Chinese. So he'll say a couple words here and there, but yeah, it's tough.
Right. It's always a journey, right? Bilingual parenting. But this book is lovely because it is an English story, but with the culture and the Chinese language elements in there. I think that is something, a good mixture of a really fun children's storybook. And so of course, the inspiration is from your mother and your son, but also we're curious because you were an attorney before, and then now you're a writer. How did that happen?
Well, after Brandon was born, I continued to work for a little while, but I felt like I was just missing out too much. I didn't want to miss anything. And so I just finished up my projects. I stopped working and I became a stay-at-home mom. And then when Brandon was learning to read more, that's when I started writing the little stories, and we would read them at night. We'd practice reading and take turns reading, and it was a lot of fun, and he enjoyed it, and it was a good time to bond. And at the time, I never thought I'd ever publish them. It wasn't even a thought. I thought, oh, I'll just write these little stories for Brandon, something for us to do together. But then I shared the stories with my sisters. I have 2 sisters who live out in California, and they have kids around Brandon's age. And they read them to their kids, and their kids loved the stories. And they kept asking my sisters to read it to them over and over again. And I can't remember if it was one of my sisters or maybe it was my husband who had suggested, hey, maybe you should try publishing it. And I was just like, you're crazy.
What a great idea.
I was like, that's he's going to want to read this little story about Brandon. And, I just kind of put it out of my mind. But then, some time passed, and I was thinking, maybe since we're interested and we're looking for these kind of books, maybe other parents might be interested, and maybe I could fill a niche. So I just went for it.
All right. I mean, it's really fun to see that you actually started with your son and then pass it on to your sisters and their children, and then you see the feedback from the little kids, because the way you write it is very catchy, and the drawing as well. I find the illustration of this book is really adorable and cute. We're going to show everybody See, okay, this is Brandon, okay, and he's making jiaozi. And I want to say, who is the illustrator? Helena Chu Ho. She is the illustrator. And how do you decide the illustration style for your book?
Well, the illustrator, Helena, is my sister. And, it's all her. The drawings are all her. I didn't give her any instruction. I didn't tell her how to draw it. The only thing I told her was where I thought pictures should go. But yeah, she did everything herself, and I love it. I think everything is just so cute, and the kids really like the drawings. I've done a lot of readings, and every single reading, I always get a bunch of compliments from the kids. They say they love the drawings. They ask me questions: who did them? How did she do them? And it's a lot of fun. The kids really enjoy the drawings.
So basically, it's a joint effort between you and your sister, and you wrote the story and she drew the pictures, and it is so cute. Can you show a couple page to our audience so they can see the drawings? And would you like to read a page for our audience?
Sure, that'd be fun. Okay, well, the cover. Let's see. It starts out here. Well, Brandon, here's a couple here. Let me just pick a page. Oh, yeah. Here's a page with 小字 on them.
Yes.
Well, let me read that. So this is after Brandon and my mom, Popo, had started making the 饺子. So once they had a tray full of 饺子 prepared, Popo started to cook them while Brandon continued making more 饺子. Soon, all the dough and meat were used up, and the first batch of 饺子 was done. Brandon could not wait to eat them, and his mouth started to water. Popo asked Brandon, 你要吃几个饺子? Asking, how many dumplings do you want to eat? And Brandon replied, 10, 10个. Wow, Popo cried, 10个? 你可不可以吃这么多? Can you eat that many dumplings? Brandon started laughing and answered, yes, I can. So Popo gave him 10 饺子, and Brandon counted them out one by one in Chinese. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, they're all there. Oh, I think I lost the sound.
That is good. That's a lot of fun. So it's really interesting because you have Chinese in the story, and one sentence you said is 你可不可以吃这么多饺子? That's actually something we hear parents say a lot in the kitchen. Like, can you really eat that many? And then I think the cute pictures on the next page, it really shows Brandon has been eating a lot.
Yeah, this one always gets a lot of laughs because Brandon starts eating.
吃
and eating.
继续吃
and eating.
越吃越多
He just ran right loud and goes, he's so fat.
I know this actually, my kids are older, and when they read it, they were like, oh, this is too funny. Oh my goodness.
That's so cute.
Yeah, and they just thought the illustration is so cute, and it's true. They do get so full, and that's what the tummy looks like, actually.
Thank you. I love hearing that.
Yeah. So basically, well, what I'm going to check is like, so when we talk about this book, your inspiration from your son, and of course you have the culture, making dumplings is a big family fair, actually, especially Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year or Spring Festival is coming. So actually, during this time for Chinese people, making the Chinese dumplings actually is a family affair. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. The whole family get together. My mom would start making the dough in the morning, and then she'd start preparing meat, and then we'd all get around a big table and we'd all wrap. So that's how I grew up, and I'm glad Brandon is also experiencing that as well.
Exactly. That's how we make dumplings during the Chinese New Year time, or even before the Chinese New Year comes. My whole family, my mom would make the dough, and my sister and my brother, we will all we have actually like an assembly line. So one will do the dough, the other person will put the filling inside, and the other person will put the water on the ring, and then the other person will, put it all together. Do you have something like that similar at home as well?
We weren't as organized. My mom would do all the work, and we would just kind of wrap and have fun, and then she would end up cooking them. And when she comes over, we still kind of do it that way. But I've been trying to do it myself too, practicing to learn so that Brandon and I can do it together.
Yeah, I just think it's such a family affair. It's so much fun. And then even when you get together, when we get older, when you get together with friends and when you say, hey, let's make a jiao, it's always a lot of fun. People sit at a round table, and then everybody has a job, and it's a bonding, I think, with your family, and also connection with your friends. So let's go back to your book. You talk about, your inspiration, and then we see the Chinese language and also the culture of making jiaozi with Popo, that's the grandma from mom's side, to do all that. So basically, you are raising a bilingual child. And can you talk about your family language background or cultural background a little bit?
Sure. Well, I'm what people refer to as an ABC, American-born Chinese. But let me back up a little. Both my parents are both born in China. My father grew up in Hong Kong, and my mother grew up in Taiwan. And then my father came to the United States for graduate school and just stayed here. And so my siblings and I were all born here. My parents spoke Chinese at home. Actually, we all spoke Chinese at home until we started school. And once we started school, we just started speaking more and more English. And, I can't even remember a time where I didn't speak English with my siblings. So our Chinese language speaking skills deteriorated. But my parents still continue speaking at home, so at least we can understand. So that's my background in Chinese.
Right. And what do you do now with Brandon? Because he is not he probably does not have a whole Chinese speaking environment at home right now. So how do you do that to keep his Chinese?
Yeah, it's a little tough because, well, I'm not fluent, which is a nice way of saying my Chinese is very limited. And my husband doesn't speak any Chinese. He's half Vietnamese and half Caucasian American, and he speaks just English, but he's really supportive and he wants Brandon to learn.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit difficult. Actually, when he was a baby, I felt like it was a little easier because I would try to say a lot of things twice. So, for example, I point to a flower and I say flower, and then I say in Chinese hua, and I thought, hey, this is such a good way to teach him vocabulary. He's learning English and Chinese at the same time, and I was all proud of myself, patting myself on the back, thinking, oh, I'm doing a pretty good job. But then he got older, and then he started school, and things got a lot more difficult, and I hate to say this, I hate to admit it, but I got a little lazy. And I justified it by telling myself, well, he takes Chinese in school and he's going to Saturday Chinese school. But I know that's not enough. I need to speak more so that he hears more. So what we do now is in the mornings, he does a little bit of Chinese homework, a little bit of reading and writing. And then after school, I try to have at least one conversation, a small conversation with him in Mandarin.
That's a good one.
And then every week I try to add a little bit more in. So we're taking baby steps.
Well, I think the baby step counts. Every baby step counts. I think that's the most important thing. And I think the amazing thing is that you wrote a book. And then I think that's an effort to show him that, he's the star of the book, and you have whatever he loves, dumplings in the book as well. So you're combining, the language and the culture together. And then, like you said, he is taking Chinese, on the weekend, and you're trying, a little bit of Chinese every day. I always say that every baby step counts because you are moving forward a little bit every day. And then 0 and then 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than 0 minute, right? So I think it's always, it adds up. I think learning a language is like playing with Lego. So more pieces you have, the more you can build. So I think it's always a good start. So I think you're doing well, and I think you should keep it going. And so we would like to see more books from Brandon.
Thank you, thank you. I'm working on more books. So I'm actually working on a book now called Brandon Goes to Beijing, based on our trip to Beijing last year. And Gong Gong and Po Po, Brandon's grandfather and grandma, will be back in the story. And I'll also introduce some of Brandon's cousins from California who are going to meet us in Beijing. So it should be a cute, fun story. And of course, there'll be some Chinese in there.
That sounds a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. And also, I want to know, because Chinese New Year is coming, and do you have any family tradition you would like to share with us? How do you celebrate or pass on your Chinese heritage culture to Brandon? Or, I know he also has other cousins. Now, how do you celebrate, on the Chinese New Year celebration, and also the festivity, and what kind of tradition you have as a family?
Well, of course, we make jiao. Actually, I made a few, starting today to practice. Let me show you. Can you see it?
Yes.
That's another reason why we're in the kitchen.
So
I started making a little bit of them. Actually, I can't take credit for those ones. My mom, the last time they were here, she made extra and froze them. So I cheated today and just kind of fried them up. But I will.
the best kind, actually. My mom does the same thing.
It's so much easier and always tastes so good. So, but that's one tradition. And then of course is the hongbao, the red envelope, which all kids seem to expect.
What's inside of a hongbao? I think people want to know. Hongbao, hong means red, bao is like a packet. So what's inside of a hongbao?
Always money. That's why the kids love it.
You're talking about cash?
Yes. So we have cash, and then we always do something. Well, he does a lot through school as well. Both his regular school and his Chinese Saturday school, they both have performances where they have dragons, the dragon dance, and the kids perform as well. So we have that. And then this year is going to be a little different because since I published the book, I'm doing a lot of events, Chinese New Year events. I'm doing readings at festivals and readings at schools. And so I'll have Brandon come to some of those with me as well. So that'll be a little bit different, and maybe that'll be added on to our Chinese New Year tradition.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea. And then actually, I think there's one thing you probably would like to share with the other parents who are watching right now, is that you actually not only just even before this book, you have started something like a Chinese culture program for Brandon, your son, at school. Every time when there is like a Chinese festival, especially Chinese New Year. Can you talk about that? How do you bring the Chinese culture to his learning environment?
Well, every year since Brandon started school, right around Chinese New Year's, I would go to school and I would read the kids a Chinese New Year story, and I'd also bring in a craft. So every year we make something different. One year we made a red envelope, the hongbao. One year I think we made a picture frame with whatever the animal was for that year. So every year is something different. I read the same story every year, so that I'm like, you guys remember this story from last year? And it's one of the ones where, I should have brought it to show you, but it's one of the ones that folds out.
I have that one. I believe I have that one.
Oh, the big long dragon.
The dragon. Is that the one with the dragon?
Yes, it is. That's funny. And I give the kids all something to make the noise, because each part of the story, there'll be firecrackers. So I'll give like bubble wrap, and they'll crack to make firecracker noise. Or there'll be a gong sound. So I'll give someone a little cymbal and they'll hit it. So I have them add in and also participate in the storytelling. And each year they get to know the story more and more, so they know what's going to happen. They know what to do, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, there will be snacks.
Snacks, that's very important. That's actually a big part of the Chinese New Year culture. You would like to give people something sweet to eat, so they will have a sweet year. And so I think that is something parents can participate or engage their children. That is, bring your heritage culture, Chinese culture, into your kids' classroom, and then they will be proud to be a part of the almost like a little teacher to help out and share their culture with their peers. And I think that's something very important, and that's a lot of fun for them. So, do you feel like Brandon really likes that?
I do. I think he looks forward to it every year. And I think his friends in this, they know me, and they always have fun. So it's cute. It's fun.
Super. And Eugenia, I know you're working on your second book. You talk about it. And what's the name of the book? Do you have a title for the book yet?
Brandon Goes to Beijing. Simple.
Brandon Goes to Beijing.
Yes.
All right. Okay, we're looking forward to it. And then if people want to connect with you, where should they find you?
Well, my website is easy, eugeniachu.com. So it's EUGENIACHU.com. And then from there, all my social media links are there. You know, my Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. So it's pretty easy to find me.
Okay, and your book actually is available on Amazon. It's in Kindle format and hardcover and also paperback. And also, I think you have a very good reading on your website. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, thanks. I recorded it. It's just me reading right now, just so in case there are parents who don't speak Chinese, if they want to check the pronunciation, or if they just want their kids to just read along with it, it's something easy. Actually, what I was planning on doing over the holidays, and I didn't have a chance, I was going to have Brandon and my mother read their parts, so that it would be more interesting and it would be more authentic, but we just never got around to it. So right now it's just me reading.
But but that is a very wonderful reading. I loved it because it's so energetic and fun and entertaining. So when you get a book, don't forget, go to Eugenia's website and listen to the author reading the book for you. So thank you so much, Eugenia, for joining me today. And we're looking forward to your next book.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for our audience for joining us today in the interview with Miss Panda. And then I will see you next time. And by the way, I'll have Eugenia's website and all the information in the description so you can follow her. I'll see you next time. 下次见，我们下次见，再见。
再见。